Welcome back to the Nullified Take, where we've got the TNT takes for you on the Challenge All-Stars 3, Episode 3, also streaming live here today on YouTube on Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host, Chris, and with me is my friends and co-hosts, both Chantel and Drew. Let's go over to the person who's very happy for someone who must have really been put through the ringer this week with her fantasy team. Chantel, how are you doing?
I'm actually
all of these people that you've lost, by the way.
really heartbroken, and especially since before the season started, there was someone that commented that like, oh, we know somebody has been like cheating, and they know they've been looking at spoilers, and I was like, it must not be me, but like we can prove now that it's definitely not me looking at any spoilers or has any idea what goes down, because I was going for the loudmouth team and I lost all the mouth. I lost it all. And so it was really heartbreaking. I definitely don't like people going out for other means other than the game itself. It's just like, it just doesn't feel right. I don't necessarily like the trajectory the game might end up going. You know what I mean? It's just like a butterfly effect of all the things that happened because these 2 people, or 3 people, but 2 that left, like not on purpose. Anyways, yeah, I'm devastated, and I don't know if I can get over it. You guys forced me to watch the season. You forced me to watch, and you said it was going to be okay. And immediately I'm heartbroken and disappointed.
All right. Well, for this season alone, therapy is free. We'll be doing it every Friday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the Nullified Take and Reality Realness. I feel like there's going to be a lot of other great people that we're going to be losing, and a lot of us is going to be upset throughout the season. But here's someone who's got no reason to be upset so far, because Drew, you're absolutely killing it for the second All-Stars in a row with having players on the board. And I don't know what the points look like at this stage, but you definitely have some of the players there that can help you throughout the season. You must be pretty happy with how things are going from a personal draft standpoint. You probably have to look at it from a OG fan standpoint differently from your draft. But from a draft standpoint, you must be pretty happy coming into this podcast today.
Yeah, I was pretty conflicted throughout this episode because, again, I watched it like 4 times this past week, past couple of days. Yeah, only 4. But it was conflicting as both someone who loves the challenge, who is a fan of the challenge and doing these fantasy points. I was happy fantasy-wise, but seeing players leave outside of elimination is terrible. It's never fun to have not 1 but 2 people leave because of DQs, and then having Cyrus leave. I mean, that was heartbreaking. I was rooting against my own player at that point in the elimination, is how conflicted I was in the episode, because I was just like, I feel Cyrus is the better competitor on this season. I want to see him go farther. I think he's healthier than where MJ is currently. I feel like MJ is led to the slaughter in a couple of episodes, probably, if there's anything other physical challenges. So it's like, I was really hoping that Cyrus could get another win. And it was just one hit after another. It felt like through this, it was a roller coaster. I'll just end it on that. It was a roller coaster of an episode. And I feel like we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have a lot to talk about. And luckily this time we're talking about, from a podcaster's perspective, 1 episode. I know as fans, we would have loved to have seen another 2 episodes, but then again, it's 1 week closer to the end if there's only 10 episodes. So I'm okay to enjoy this, like I enjoy my coffee. I don't just, down it in 1 hit.
You enjoy stomping on my grave here. Oh, that's what you would have.
Has to be the slow kill.
Yeah, you just want to just milk it out, the fact that it lost 3 players today. You just want to feel it. Oh, brutal.
Chantel, I've got a feeling you would have really enjoyed what Kendall said in this episode when she said, these young ones don't understand the sacrifices that we're putting on coming into this game.
That's not what I want to hear. That's what I hate. But my point is that, I just don't think, like, we see this whole episode, or every episode so far, that Kayla will say something like, oh, like someone's super old. She makes a dig at Mark this episode about the 70s party. And it's just kind of like, well, you're literally in a completely different generation. Most of these people are born in the 70s and you're born in the 90s. Like, it's just it's not equal to me. I don't mind people obviously from different generations, but for this game, I want them to be older. But I also want Kendall to have a little bit more heart. I don't want a fair game. I want you to still be playing, but I want you to be older and play. I don't want you to be like, because I sacrificed so much to be here, you better let me stay and win. Like, no, I don't agree with that. Oh, Kendall.
Drew, as someone that is, I want to ask you, as someone that has watched a lot of these old school seasons, and you're watching it right now, again, you're rewatching some of these older seasons. I know Chantel's done that in the past as well. Is Kendall's opinion and how she looks at this game, is that normal for the OG people? Is this just the OG game versus the new generation game of being a lot more cutthroat? Or do you just believe this is a personality thing with Kendall?
I think it's a little bit of both. It's a personality trait, but it's also something that we've seen kind of in the first All-Stars, where it was everybody just wanted to go off performance-wise. They didn't really want to throw the same person in over and over again, except for the women who wanted to throw in Kendall over and over and over again. To me, just like what Chantel was saying, Kendall, I was ripping my hair out about what Kendall was saying. I mean, you guys were talking about how Sylvia couldn't make a decision. At least she wasn't as bad. It took as long as 100%. Kendall did at this, handing out a sabotage. I mean, she asked 50 questions, and even with getting the answers, it just seemed like she had no idea where she was going.
And made a bad decision on top of it.
Yeah. To me, it's like, this is a reason why I don't think Kendall, and I don't want to say ever, but I just don't think Kendall will win. Or even make it to the finals ever if she keeps this mentality up. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And like I said last week, this was like the first time we're seeing Kendall in power, and I was like, I want to know what she will do or how she will handle it. And she
never ask that again.
completely just crumbled. She crumbled underneath it. She couldn't tell anybody a reason why she did what she did. She couldn't even come up with something, and it's just one of those old school mentalities of like, I'll go into elimination. Let's go off of how we do in dailies. Let's go off of how we do in eliminations. Everybody knows I'm a strong player. But at that point, it's like, we know you're a strong player. So we want to get you out, and we don't know you. So that's kind of like where they're coming from. And to me, I understood where I think John A was taking things way too personal, but to me, it was just like, why are you taking it the way you're taking it? They're not playing dirty. They're just playing the game, in my opinion. And it just seems like Kendall can't hang. She wants to go one-on-one. I totally understand that, but it's not how you're going to win the game. And that's just how it's going to be. So I just feel like Kendall, if she's coming back All-Star 4, 5, 6, and we're doing fantasy drafts,
no.
I mean,
she already felt to second to last, right? Or third last?
Yeah, this was the episode where I was like, done. Like, you guys know, I was a big Kendall fan. The first 2 times she played, I told you guys, All-Stars 3, not touching Kendall this season. I already saw things I didn't like about how she approached the game and her mentality coming into it. And this season is just the cherry on the cake. Now, I'm a big Eric Thomas fan, and a lot of people here might not know who he is. I love motivational speakers or people who talk about business. And Eric Thomas has got this saying where he says, don't cry to quit, cry to win. You're already in pain. Get a reward from it. And that is really where she is. She's got a victim attitude towards the season where she should be going in the offense. And people are either one or two things. They're either flight or flight type of personalities. And she, to me, comes across as a flight personality at this stage. I know she can do well in eliminations, but it's actually whiny and not fun to watch. So I wasn't a big fan of this at all. I do want to say welcome to everybody here in the live stream. We've got Lovable Nikki with us. First in on the chat here saying, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the stream, Lovable Nikki. Jess made it here as well today. Welcome, Jess. I've got co-captain Baby Ice back in the live stream here. We didn't do too bad this specific week. Ice, it's you and me, baby. We're going all the way. Les is also here saying hello to everyone. Caster's in the live. And then also the Hangout Room is here as well and says, I know we should be set for people leaving based on injuries and responses, but I think Veronica was happy she didn't have to compete. Yeah, I think Veronica was a bit of a winner in that situation. Yeah, for sure.
One thing though about Kendall that I just wanted to mention, that popped into my head. I think part of the reason why she doesn't have like a cutthroat, offense mentality is because when she originally played her season, it was all team stuff. And so like you just won as a team, and it was a little bit more like a regular sporting event where it's like you play hard and you win and you know what I mean? So instead of it being like strategic and trying to do things to better yourself in the game because you're playing individually. I think that she doesn't like playing individually. I think she likes to having support of a team. She likes having the team working together and doing things together. I don't think she likes to do things for herself specifically. So it's just an observation.
Lovable Nikki already coming for us here. Nothing new for Lovable Nikki to call us out when we're being too harsh here on the stream, saying you're all being too hard on Kendall. Andrea saying, I don't understand why people act like Kendall made such a bad move. Jonay won both All-Stars for the women. MJ is her boy toy, and he was almost eliminated. Well, we'll get into all of this. I think there's a lot to get into. So let's get to the start here of the episode. We don't need to discuss this, but I found it quite endearing to see Mark go back to the true love of his life and speak to little Marky after the elimination to let him know they're still in the game. You know, just a little bit of a lighter moment here in the episode. We get to see a little bit of this relationship in the house between the girls, and we see that Kendall and Kellyanne, they're really close. I mean, to the point where Kendall now wants to open up a business with Kellyanne if they were to get the money and do something in yoga, which is nice. I'm glad that they found friendship in this game. I don't know if they were friends beforehand or if they even knew of each other before All-Stars 1, but this is good to see this. But then we find out that there is a big alliance in the game called the Treehouse, and they're pretty much, I think, they probably are the MVP alliance of this specific episode because they kind of dictated a lot of what happened. And this is a lot of the girls that are in the same room. It's Tina, Kayla, Sylvia, Jimmy, Veronica, and Derek somehow landed in this alliance as well, which I found really funny. What did you guys think of this group of people that are forming together here? And I guess their performance throughout this episode and Derek sort of being in that group as well.
Well, I think obviously it's a good idea to get numbers and people, especially people that are winning and being part of the authority to have them be on your side. And so I think it was a good idea to group people together in that way. I'm just wondering though, for Veronica, like at this point, like Veronica and Tina, yes, they're going to be kind of insulated because they have Kayla and Sylvia who most likely will be in the authority more times than not. You know, what happens when everybody else is gone? Are they going to be able to go against them and beat them, or will they be taken out by them in the end? So I'm just not sure if it was a good long-term decision to have people that are physically stronger than you in your major alliance. So we'll see how it plays out. Well, we know how it plays out this episode, but we'll see how it plays out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, this is a big alliance. I didn't expect this alliance to be this big this early on, but it makes sense that they're just grouping up by rooms. We saw it happen last season with Darrell, Brad's alliance, and then you had the Save the Palace alliance because they were just in a room together and they weren't in on the conversations because other people were in the room. So it makes a lot of sense. I want to give a special shout out to Ronnie for being in this alliance. After the past 2 episodes, she was like, nobody's talking to me.
I actually forgot that she's on the show.
Well, yeah, well, we'll get into that, but she's like, I haven't been able to talk to anybody. Nobody's talking politics with me. Look, she's in this alliance. Now, I will say that there are tiers within every alliance, especially this big of an alliance, where not all of everybody in your alliance can make it to the finals. And we hear later on when people are talking about like, who do you want to go up against? I mean, they name Ronnie. They name Ronnie as a person that could be sent in or could be voted in. Of course, they wouldn't do that now at this point in the game because they need all the numbers they can. They're going to go take their shots at Kendall and Kellyanne as much as they can, or whoever Veronica seems fit. So I think overall what happens in this episode is sad to see people leave, but ultimately this could help the rest of the treehouse stay stronger because they don't have to cannibalize each other in a different way. They kind of have from 7 to 5, and then those bonds get a little bit tighter. We saw that happen last season with Derek leaving, and then Brad slipped in to be Darrell's number 2, Jody's number 1 kind of guy, and he got way far into the game, farther than I think he would have if Derek was still in the game at that point. I think Brad would have been held out as arm's length, where now I think Ronnie would have been that. Now she can slip into the Tina role. She can slip into the Jemmy role kind of feel. So we'll see how it all plays out, though.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan here saying the Treehouse feels very Lavender Ladies Dolphins SK. I definitely got the Lavender Ladies part. I kind of, especially having the likes of Kayla and Sylvia in there as well, being really close throughout this episode. I don't know if I fully ship this alliance yet, but they're going to lose some major numbers, not through their own fault this episode in any case. And I think that's going to shake the game up a lot and hopefully will assist some of the players who are not a part of that alliance moving forward. What I did find funny about this alliance is that at the challenge, when they had certain people actually go into the authority, Derek quite openly shouted out, yeah, that's 2 people for the treehouse, yay, type of thing. And I always find it interesting how open challenges are with their strategy or their alliances and the names of it. There's like no working in the shadows like you would see in Survivor sometimes and blindsiding people with that. It's all on the table. But I think it probably does come down to the fact that they're in the same room, like you mentioned. A lot of seasons, it's not a secret. If you're in a room with someone, everybody knows there's going to be an alliance. And I think Derek being so open and shouting that out maybe also gives us more of an insight in how serious he takes this alliance. I don't think he takes it that serious. I don't think he's thinking long term, I'm going to be sticking with these ladies necessarily, but he's probably thinking this is an option for me in the game. I mean, if they think that I'm a part of this thing, maybe they don't come for me immediately and it gives me some sort of safety in the game. But I don't feel like Derek is really all that loyal to this alliance. What do you think, Chantel?
I think that he's just not really great strategically, and he doesn't even realize that it's not necessarily the best move to out his alliance to other people that aren't in it. So I don't know if I'm going to give him props that he's like, oh, like he doesn't take this alliance seriously and like he's just using it to his advantage. Like I don't know if I give that strategic prowess to Derek, unfortunately. Sorry.
I feel like Derek is like reverting back to his old self. And I just think of like the island where he was like everybody's friend. He was very much working with Johnny and Bananas, but he was always talking to Gen G, who was always kind of like in the middle / against them. And the same with Rachel. Everybody just loved him no matter what. So I feel like he's going to play everybody around the numbers. He's going to try to float, do the social thing. But if the treehouse is going to be in the authority, and he's going to be in the authority with them, it's kind of like, I'll give you my vote with whoever you want to send in. Because he's talked about how he loves Cyrus. Like Cyrus is like one of his favorite guys to come onto the challenge with, talk, hang out with. Yet he easily like that just says his name. And it's because he doesn't want to turn on anybody, turn on the alliance. He doesn't want to turn on
like Derek
them.
this season. I think he's playing a lot better already.
Oh, yeah.
Not that it would have been that difficult. Like, I mean, it was a low bar to begin with after last season, but he's playing a lot better this season compared to last season. And I stayed well away from him, even though I love Derek when it came to the draft this season. But I think he wasn't a bad pick for you at this stage. And we'll later on get into, I guess, the numbers when you look at confessionals and wins and all those kind of things. So we can, because I haven't actually even had a look yet to see who's the top performers or who's the underperformers at this stage. But I feel like Derek has been prominent. He's getting confessionals at interesting times when he's not necessarily the center of attention. So that's always a good sign. If you're getting those confessionals, it means you're probably going a bit deeper and there's a story to be told around you. But let's get into the real meat and potatoes. The moment that I enjoyed the most prior to going into the challenge, we've got Mr. Yes and Wes. The rivalry was set out. It was going to start last episode or the last 2 episodes. We knew Wes was coming for Yes, and Yes is very aware of this. And it was interesting because I've always looked at Yes as a very vanilla personality. But there's something about Yes and Wes on the same season that is bringing something out of Yes at the moment that I'm really enjoying. Like, I'm still the biggest Wes fan, but I love the fact that there is a Yes versus Wes rivalry and that Yes is stepping up to the plate here. You know, he's calling him over. He's having a conversation with him. He wants to get to know Wes a little bit. He's never played with him before. And he gives him an option. He tells him, hey, do you want me to give you the sabotage? And you can play the sabotage. And there's this fun moment of politicking between them, a little bit of cat and mouse, back and forth here that I really enjoyed. And I have to give credit to Yes. He doesn't have the same legacy as Wes, but he's come to play this season. And I enjoy this Yes a lot more than the Yes that we saw the first time. Now, obviously, his arguments around the fact that I don't play that type of game, I'm honorable and all that kind of stuff, absolute BS. But the fact that he's giving us that and he's making us not like him for that, or he's stepping up to have that rivalry, to me is a good thing. If you feel a certain way towards someone, it's a hell of a lot better than not knowing Yes was in the game until the finale in All-Stars 1. So I'm really enjoying what this is bringing out of Yes and Wes in this situation. What did you guys think of this great conversation between these two players?
Well, since I saw that conversation, I actually saw some more Twitter, or I don't know, maybe it was Reddit, some explanations from Wes as to what happened. So if I can break it down, basically somebody had told Yes that he should get to know Wes, that he would really like him, think he's a stand-up person because they never really met before. So Yes, these names are really going to try me.
Yeah.
So Yes reaches out to Wes, and they have just like a very friendly, like back and forth. Good to meet you. Like we should talk or whatever. So it's kind of like a pre-gaming type thing. And then it seems as though Wes flipped on it, and instead of like owning the fact that he wanted to pre-game, and like they kind of were like, let's work together, and they kind of were like having that camaraderie before going into the house, then he completely changed it and was like, I'm too good to be pre-gaming, or I'm too good to be playing strategically, or so he just kind of went back on all the things. And Wes was kind of like, everything that he's doing, he could do whatever he wants, but he just wanted him to own it. So I'm thinking we're seeing a little bit of why Wes, or like seeing him start to get annoyed more so with Yes, because of the fact that like he's starting out being like, oh, let's get to know each other and be friends as a kind of pre-gaming thing. Let's not target each other. Let's kind of work together. Then immediately targets him and doesn't want to own it. Still says that he's a completely honorable guy. Wes is like, I'm garbage. I know that I'm garbage, but like he's pretending like he's not garbage and he's playing this game. So it was looking at that scene now, of like Wes is just really calling him out, and Yes is kind of walking into his trap, really.
Yeah, and I also heard that Yes, when trying to get into contact with Wes, he listened to when Wes was on Banana's podcast and heard some of the stuff that Wes was saying, that Yes kind of was like, I don't think he's the player that I want to play with. I don't think I'm going to really get along with him. And it just seemed like everything that was going on, Wes, this is all coming from Wes. Wes makes it sound like Yes was going behind his back once, like they were having those, the DMs swapping back and forth, and then once they actually got on location, it kind of like swapped when they actually got into the game. And so that's where Wes was coming out with that Rolling Stones interview saying like, oh well, Yes is one of the scariest human beings to ever play this game, because he's trying to be all sheepish, but realistically he's going to turn on you at a drop of the hat, and he's going to pretend that he's all angelic and everything. So there's a lot more context now that we know everything that's happening, because when you just read that Rolling Stones interview, you're like, where is what? Where is that coming from? Like I didn't even see anything like that. But yeah, it makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love the fact that they didn't come in as friends to this season, because it's one of the things I absolutely have hated about the main show in the last 3 or 4 seasons. It's just you get these big alliances forming, they take out the outsiders, and there's never a back and forth, where having these two really capable players in the game, I mean, if you had to say who's the more capable one so far in this season, Yes has proven himself to be more effective than Wes. He's won more than Wes at this stage, but we know Wes is capable as well. So having these two capable players going head to head against each other, I think is very interesting. I did note a couple of interesting things from another big player, and I'm sure, Drew, you would have picked up on this because you've watched it 4 times. I only watched it twice, but in the challenge, it looked like Jordan and Wes were working together. Jordan did a handoff of the ball back to Wes to actually get to the end. And we also see Jordan and Wes talking throughout this episode about throwing Yes in. And it seems like there may have been some pre-gaming again with these two that I didn't think was going to happen this season. We thought they were going to be rivals coming into this season. Is that another dangerous faction that could really swing the pendulum towards Wes in the future? Because Jordan is also just as capable and is winning a lot of things at this stage in the game. Did you pick that up, Drew?
I saw him do something with the ball. I just didn't catch it right away. And it wasn't until a comment that I read on my Tiny Table Talk on Thursday that mentioned it. And then I rewatched it and I was like, oh crap, they did work together. So I sadly did not catch it, but I caught a whole bunch of different other stuff that we're probably not going to talk about, because
that's why there's 3 of us. There's 3 of us here to catch these things.
I think it actually might not be pre-gaming. I think it might be common enemy in Yes. And so I think they're just like, okay, no, we have to work together let's not go against each other. Let's both work together. We're both really strong. Let's do our best to get out Yes. And then we can move forward, and then we can have our rivalry come back, but let's work together to get Yes out. I think it's a common enemy bond.
Agreed.
Interesting. Well, we go to the challenge here for the daily, and we've got this moment with Kendall being nervous. Oh no, what do I do? Who do I put it on? Can I put it on a guy? You know, it is infuriating to see people be indecisive when it comes to these moves, and I think it looks worse on them as a player. At least if you go, sorry, MJ, I'm putting it on you. You're a great competitor. That's it. Leave it there. You're not going back and forth in your head. At least it's a clean kill, you know. But now you're making a big deal out of it because you're flopping back and forward. But she does end up putting it on a guy. She ends up putting it on MJ, and her reasoning for this is to give Wes a chance in the game as well. I know we spoke a little bit about Kendall's indecisiveness in making this move. We always knew Yes was going to put it on Wes. What did you guys think of both of these guys getting the sabotage on them? And was MJ really the best choice to put a sabotage on? I mean, the guy was already limping going into the challenge, and he was going to have to run in mud, which is not the greatest thing on your joints if you've got an injury. So I felt like he would have probably struggled regardless in this episode.
I just don't understand why she didn't put it on Jordan. Like Jordan's like, give it.
Yes.
It was Jordan that said, give it to me, right?
Yeah.
And so, pardon?
Yes, it was Jordan. So it's like,
I thought you were like, yes.
I'm just with you.
Yes.
I'm with you. I'm as frustrated as you.
It wasn't yes. Was it? No, I was like, I got confused. Okay, yes, exactly. And so it's like, I don't know why she was choosing to make an enemy without having any reasoning and being all flustered about it. Because it's like, even if she decided to just do MJ without having if she's like, TJ, can I put it on a guy? I'm putting it on MJ, and just was fine about it. Like, I think people wouldn't have been so frustrated, but it was just kind of like, oh, what can I do with it? Oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Jordan's taking it off your hands, saying like, hey, like, I'll take it off your hands. Just put it on me. Like, I'm going to be fine with it. And then she's like, no, I'm going to put it on MJ. So it looks like she's being more calculated with why she's putting it on MJ, which just makes her look bad. And so I just think that she just started giving it to a girl, considering that she's not in the treehouse and she has all those women that are against her. So either do what she should have done with it. But if she's not going to do that and she wants to put it on a guy to give Wes a chance, I don't know why she's playing for Wes, but maybe it's that team theory that I have. Like, give it to Jordan. Jordan asked for it. And it could be a little bit helpful with somebody that's a little like physically capable, because they're going to have more weight on them. So they'll be able to hold people down. If you're a little bit less agile and maybe youthful, you might not be able to use that weight. Like, what was it, 25 pounds? Like, that's quite a lot of weight. But Jordan's one of the youngest guys, if not the youngest. And so he could probably handle it, and he could probably tackle some people and hold them down. So I just thought it was a bad move, and it just didn't put her in a better position in the game, and it didn't make people want to work with her anymore. So how was that a good
Drew,
move?
just before you jump in here as well, we saw that little conversation happening between MJ and also Janae prior to the challenge, and we kind of skipped over this a little bit. And again, that showed that relationship between them is only getting stronger. They're very close. Kellyanne says that these two kind of believe that they're each other's lucky charm in this game. They won this season together. We know Kellyanne and Kendall are close. Do you think that there is a chance that this was more calculated than what she came across, that she was trying to play the ditzy blonde, I don't know where to put it type of thing? But there may have been, her and Kellyanne are close. It's not that far-fetched. They had conversations going into this thing.
I mean, they could have. I mean, first of all, I don't know how close John A and MJ are to like Kendall and Kellyanne. So when John A is going off, I saw Kendall as a very close ally in this game. It's like, I haven't seen you guys talk to each other, I think, since All-Stars 1. Like, I don't know how close I can really. And then if they're not really that close to Kellyanne, and she's clocking how close of ties that both MJ and John A have with each other, and they just won. I'll get into my thoughts and feelings at the elimination, but it's like, for my sake of my team and rooting for John A, it's like, I wish, again, Cyrus would have won and MJ would have lost, because I think in the long run, it would have helped John A's game if she doesn't have this anchor with a big old knee brace on called MJ hanging around and kind of putting a giant target on their backs with how close and how personal it seems like their relationship is. But it could have been, I just feel like if it was calculated, she deserves an Oscar for the acting performance that she put into the confessionals, when she could have said, like, why would she keep on saying like, oh, I'm kind of freaking out, I don't know what to do. And then she's like trying to come up with a reasoning in the room later, and she's not saying anything. And in the confessionals, I think she would have been able to blossom and be like, well, this is why I did it, kind of thing. And I'll put it out there. But she still wasn't making any sense in the confessionals. So I just don't think she really thought it through. I don't know why you don't just put it on a woman and ensure somebody gets last place and you can stay safe kind of thing. Like, you're going to have to go up against these people anyways. So why wait? Why put it on somebody completely different that's not even in your heat? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. It's interesting. You mentioned John A going to her saying she's close, and we haven't seen that relationship at all. Like, I was also shocked by that. And then the other thing with John A is, like, if you're close to everyone, then you're not really close to anyone, you know? So
Exactly.
it didn't really matter who she was going to put it on. And I would have just said, listen, this guy's he's the reigning champion coming into this thing. It's a big threat. Got to take him out. But I still think it's a horrible decision because as a female in the game, you want strong men at the end. So you've got a better chance at actually running a final and winning it. Like, why are you going after strong men, people who've shown that they can win finals when you probably know that there's going to be some sort of a team up when it gets to the finals? There's, I mean, I guess she didn't make it to the final in All Stars 1, but All Stars 1 was literally that. It was you were hooking up with different people, not that type of hooking up, but you were pairing up with different types of people in the final. I know John A would have loved it if there's that kind of type of hookup in last season. But, you want strong players, is my point. At the end, you want strong players there if you're of the opposite sex. You're not competing directly with MJ for the money. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, definitely. TJ mentioned that in the beginning. He said there will be one man and one woman win this season, and they'll take the share of 500,000. So why are you taking shots at someone that's not going to basically stand in your way of winning? Like, you have to take out strong females. It's a given.
And also, if half the authority is going to be 3 men and 3 women, like, you want to have the guys to maybe want to root with you because they want to run the final with you. So they want to keep you in the game. If they're like, maybe we should get rid of Kendall, a little bit of a loose cannon here. We don't know whether or not she's going to sabotage me. Let's just not have to deal with that element of her erratic game. So I just thought it was a bad move all around. I understand that she doesn't want to look like a bad person and kind of play strategically in that way. I get that, but that's not what you signed up for. That's not what the game is playing, and it's going to end up, I think, biting her in the butt.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is the indecision and just not knowing. I mean, honestly, when she said, "Can I throw it on a guy?" all the guys probably gulped and was like, that sucks. Why would you do it? Like, anybody could get shot with that. I mean, that's what kills me about it. And we didn't even talk about the dumbest question she asked, which was, can I sabotage myself? And TJ had to get like in his dad mode and be like, this what game you signed up for, right? The last place goes directly into the elimination. This is for $500,000. And you're asking if you can sabotage yourself by putting on putting on a vest that's a third of your weight onto you, and you're gonna sink in that mud and you're gonna get last place and go direct. Is that what you want? Like, what? Why are you asking this? What is happening?
I just want to say, guys, the reason that she got casted is this very reason. I think we've spoken about it for at least 15 out of the 30 minutes already today, about just the stupidity of some of the moves and just the baffleness. But it gives us as fans something to get invested about. We're like invested because we gets us riled up. It gets us talking about the show. It is frustrating, but can you imagine if we had like just game bots out there? Every single person was making the right move. Yeah. So
I wouldn't mind people that want to win. I want people that want to win and want to play well. Even if they don't play well, I do appreciate when people try to make a good move. I'm not a person in general that can stand wishy-washiness. Like, make a decision, deal with the consequences. Like, I don't want to like back and forth. Like, no, just decide something. So it's just really something that drives me batshit. And like, I used to live in Vancouver, and everybody in Vancouver never will solidify a plan, never will make a decision, never will actually do something. And I was like, I had to get out of the city because I can't stand wishy-washiness. So that's also why I'm triggered by Miss Kendall.
Well, I agree with lovable Nikki here. Kendall's got a pure heart. She's just not meant for this game, She's not meant for the game, but she's a nice person.
No, she had days to think about this. She thought of questions. And she didn't think like, what if TJ says, yes, I can do a guy? What am I going to say? Like, she didn't even think of it. She didn't even think of the question. Like, she had days. Do
you think she wanted TJ to give her an out? Like, do you think she went in there thinking TJ was going to say, no, you've got to put it on a female, and then she could use that as a reason for why she had to take a shot at someone? Do you think she thought about it
Maybe.
at that level, and maybe she was shocked she got in there and she's like, oh no, he's actually allowing me to put it on a guy. Now I do have to follow through. I feel like she might have bluffed it and TJ called her on her bluff.
I don't
Oh,
know.
it's a bad
I will
bluff.
say that I did see Jemmy tweeted out something, and she said that Kayla and Sylvia, or somebody in the treehouse, two people in the treehouse, was talking to Kendall on the bus to the Daily, and they said something to her, I think, in the back of the bus, but only Jemmy and Naya said that they could hear it. And Jemmy kind of put it on Kendall that you know what they said to you, and if you were kind of worried, you should have just thrown it on somebody in the treehouse. I mean, come on now, like you can't. So I almost think like maybe there was some intimidation factors. Maybe there was some like, we won't throw you in if you don't put it on us. Make sure you don't put it on us. If we win this challenge, we won't sabotage you next one or whatever. And that's why I think maybe she was like, can I do a guy so I don't have to throw it on anybody of the women's side? But I mean, if you're getting intimidated in the back of the bus in any way, like you gotta just take your shot, throw it on them. Like they're not; those are people that are not going to work with you.
They don't care
further in the
about you.
game.
They're just trying to exercise their power like against you. Brutal.
Well, let's talk about the one good thing she did do this episode, and the many things that were suspect. She did beat a legend in the game in Veronica, and she got the ball and inched her way to the end, putting Veronica straight into elimination. She was the first female eliminated from this challenge. We do end up seeing at the end of this here that the winner for the females is going to be Kayla, and joining them would be Sylvia and Janae. So very strong representation here from one specific alliance that we've mentioned quite a few times in this specific
and
authority.
Age group.
And also age group, yes. So Kayla, Janae, and Sylvia are all some of the youngest competitors in this. I think the jury's still out on, I guess, who of them are too young and who are old enough to play. Like, should there be an age bracket on All Stars? I guess is what I'm bringing up. Should they be like, hey, no one younger than 35?
So. Well, like, because we talk about all the time about like weight classes and stuff like that in other sporting type events or whatever, like weightlifting or jiu-jitsu, I don't know, whatever. But like in this though, you wouldn't really want to be competing with someone that's 20 years older than you. Like, how does that seem fair? Like it just like they could be your children, some of them. And so it just doesn't seem like you, like not even being in the same generation, not even have gone to high school in the same decades. Like it just seems too separate. It just doesn't seem fair to be in the same season and for them to be like gloating about how much better they are physically than people that are 20 years older than them. It just doesn't feel good for me sometimes.
Do we run the risk here, Drew, of the All-Star season being called the Seniors Edition?
I don't mind it.
Do we run the risk? Do we run the risk of it if we don't call it the Seniors Edition? It's going to be called the B team or the B League. It's not the first league because you don't have all these other young guns that are at their physical peak playing. So you've got people like Kayla going there because she can't win the actual season, so she goes and plays All-Stars to play against all the players to have a chance to win it. Like, is that the threat that we're running here by putting these brackets on it or not putting it on it as a whole? And do you think that, because TJ's very happy about this season, do you think he's thinking about this, or is he going to be happy about bringing more young people into All-Stars in the future? Is this a trend that we could see follow into All-Stars?
I mean, I think it's definitely a trend we could be seeing because production was reaching out to Corey Wharton and Nany at certain points to come on to All-Star Season 3. I think it's possibilities. It's like I like what everybody that's new to this season is bringing to this season because it's bringing in a different level than what we saw in All-Stars 1 and even All-Stars 2. Like All-Stars 2, we were kind of seeing a little bit of this morph into a cutthroat, strategic, political kind of game where All-Stars 1 was kind of just like kumbaya kind of thing. And then we bring in Wes, we bring in Sylvia, we bring in Kayla. We're seeing some more alliances. Veronica. I think Veronica was a main component of that room because she knows her capabilities are better in the political game than the physical game, as we see in this episode. So if anybody's trying to get an alliance going, it's going to be Veronica as well. So, I mean, I like what is bringing up. You just don't want to see the numbers dictate too much, like I think that on the men's side we're not seeing a lot of the numbers coming into play and into the factor. I think that's more on the women's side, who are playing the brain game, while the guys are just like giant peanut brains just trying to run really quickly with a ball kind of thing. Like we saw nobody working with each other except for Jordan and Wes was out in the second round. I mean, they were just trying to get in and out of that mud, thanks to Brad, who was one and done. But I wouldn't mind seeing Corey being on the All-Stars at some point, because I think the guys, if they have a season like this where the guys is so competitive, I think Mark could take Corey out. I think any like Laterian in a pole wrestle.
I don't want his storyline. I don't want his storyline.
I'm not saying I want it, but I'm saying I could see it happening. But the way All-Stars is that it's way more enjoyable than the main season. And I still think Corey would have to work for it. I don't think he's going to be just running laps around everybody. So I think it is the level of competition. Maybe this season was a little too heavy-handed with bringing in Veronica, Kayla, Sylvia, and Jemmye, who are very political and have played pretty recently with each other. I mean, they were on Final Reckoning, Dirty 30 with each other. So that's like in the 30s of the seasons. It's not like people that were from season 7 are coming onto the show and trying to make alliances with people that were playing in the 30s kind of thing. So yeah, that's where I go with it.
Agree with you, Baby Ice.
Yeah, and Dabu here saying Mark spoke to Corey and he wants to do All Stars. Can't let that happen. Yeah, I mean it'll be interesting. I guess it'll definitely change the shape of the show and how we see it currently.
Our next off-season podcast is who do we not want to see on All Stars 4? The not list.
Well, this is going to be long. It's going to be a long list, I think, of players that we probably
possible, but like who we hope that they don't actually get the call.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So yeah, you kind of started off with the men here. We see MJ fall out first. He's the first person eliminated. No surprise there with the knee that he's got issues with. That was quite heavily strapped as he went into that challenge. And we see Brad take it out for the men. Also from the men, we've got Derek and Jordan. And Jordan was impressive because he went all the way to the end, lost the ball, had to run back into the middle of the pit and then run out again. So he kind of did that final leg twice and still ended up getting through that somehow with all of those capable players in there. The most exciting part of this whole, I guess, men's elimination was the little bit of a scuffle between Nehemiah and
Yes. At least get some points.
Yeah, Nehemiah was coming for Yes's throat after that. And I think we're seeing a little bit of Nehemiah probably working in the shadows here with Wes and continuing to put a target on Yes, continuing to say things like, you talk about playing an admirable game, you talk about being a stand-up guy, but then you go and do something like this, you know. But I mean, it was a physical confrontation, so all's fair in love and war.
I mean, it definitely was fair for Yes to hold him down, even if he doesn't have a ball in his hand. Like I don't think that was outside of the rules. So the fact that he got so upset, I think it's just because it was Yes that was doing it. And I'm sure that him and Wes have been talking about how much they don't like Yes. So I loved seeing it because I was like, I'm going to need to get some points here. So fight away, boys.
Yeah, we get our first confrontation, which I was happy about. I think it got a little cringeworthy at the end, though, when somebody was like, you good, bro? And he's like, yeah, I'm good until I got to beat somebody. It's like, all right, calm down. Like, it's good. Like, you're not going to do anything. I thought Yes was a little weird with his, like, retorts back. I think it was fine. He did kind of go dunk his head into the mud, which I'm sure was not pleasant. But, I mean, you're playing the game. You had to wrestle it. You're kind of in the moment type of thing. I don't think it was dirty, but it just adds on to the level of what's going to be, who's going to be coming after Yes. And I don't think he needed any reasoning, but it could be this ploy of like piling on, like, did you see what he did type of thing? Like later on, it's going to be easier to just be able to say like, he did this to me, we should throw him in kind of thing. So I think that could be at play here as well.
Yeah. I think that, you know, from here we move towards the party. There's the 70s party.
Wait,
the joke is being...
you're gonna jump over the last part that was like made us worried. I was like, oh my god! So Tina was holding. I can't remember who she was holding down. And then
yes, yeah, completely forgot about that.
Her knuckle back in, and I was like,
yes,
uh oh. people pop their knuckle back in, but then they think they're fine, and then they get taken out of the game. I'm like, oh, my heart started racing for Miss Tina here. We're like, is she actually okay? So I just had to mention that.
Yes, I completely forgot that that happened, and then obviously we find out the next morning that she did break her hand and is going to be removed from the game, which is sad to see. Tina at this point, I think, was probably the top points getter for us, and the confessional side of things. She was a big part of the storyline early on, and you've got to wonder if we're ever going to see Tina, I guess, come back and do a full season, and are we ever going to see her get to the end again? Or is this just the case of she's getting a bit old now, the body's not used to this confrontation, she's going up against people that are a lot younger than her? She had, when she broke that hand, she was in a scuffle with Kellyanne, who's one of the younger females and physically a really good competitor. So you've got to wonder if time has moved on for the likes of someone like a Tina or a Veronica, unless it is going to be an actual season for all the players in the game. So again, it brings that conversation back up.
I think they would have her back now that she's gotten an elimination win. I think if she would want to come back, they would ask her back. I think I really want to see Tina, Veronica, and Rachel all together in one cast. Just see what would they do? Would they come back and join forces together? Like, I just want to see that. Like, I really wish Rachel would come on to do All-Stars. One, she would kill the competition. And second, I just want to see what the dynamic would be. And if anybody would take a shot at her, because she is going to be the strongest woman. I mean, she's killing everybody on those workouts on the MTV YouTube channel.
Did you do it?
I did 2. And then I had to bow out and I joined a gym to try to work out to get good at possibly getting to do the YouTube workout with Rachel.
Jeez, is that rough?
What does she make you do burpees? Like, what does she do? How is it so hard?
I don't do burpees.
They're made by the devil, absolutely.
Yeah, I did the Nelson one, and then I did the leg day one, and the leg day one killed me. That's the one with Tori, and it's like, I can't do it. I'm done. I'm tapping out.
We should do like a live stream of us all trying to do their videos. That's
she
fun.
killed Mark on Arms Day. Let's just throw that out there. Like, Mark had to go down in weight, and then he stopped multiple times to check out her form, aka get an extra long break. So just throw that out there. It's rough. It's up.
Do you think she's on the? Do you think she's on the old juice maybe to keep her going? It's just natural athleticism. Yeah, maybe Mark. They should test Mark because he's looking like a beast for someone that's 50.
Don't think the juice is happening with Mark. I don't think so. I mean,
they should be testing challenges for this. I'm pretty sure they'll find some things. I think that's one of the interesting things with the challenge being a sport. There's probably a few things doing things that you would be surprised about, to get onto the show and actually get that competitive advantage. There's a lot of money involved now with $500,000 prize money, $1 million, $750,000 sometimes. I wouldn't blame them. But we lose another person here. We lose Jemma. And that kind of comes from nowhere with her getting a phone call. We know that when the phone call comes up, someone gets called in. It's normally not a good thing, especially mid-episode. You normally get the phone call in the beginning of the episode to give you a little bit of, I guess, an understanding for the character or to bolt that person's storyline. But this is right in the middle of the episode. So as soon as that happens, we know it's bad. She hears bad news from home and she's got to pull out of the game. Now, hate her or love her, I tend to love her more on the show these days than what I did when she played in the original seasons. I kind of like her because she brings that extra element of strategy and she's great at confessionals. And I think she would have gone deep again this season. We lose her again here, second person that we lose to this. And Chantel, you get that other hit there. But there was no choice for her here, right? Family comes first. And I think we all have gone through a lot in the last couple of years, the pandemic being there. I think it really makes you think about what matters in life, and family is more important than anything else. So I respect her decision to go and look after her family instead of her friends in the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I don't take this as like a quit or anything. I don't think that she really could have made any other decision. If her mom's saying like, you do what's best for you, her mom's saying like you can come home, you should come home, but I want you to make that decision for yourself, but you should come home. Is basically what I felt her mom was saying. And I think that if anything did happen to her father and she decided to stay there, that would haunt her for the rest of her life probably. And it probably could ruin the rest of her challenge experiences to be like, oh my God, I chose to stay on this game show and I lost my father, or I could have spent more
Yeah.
time with my father. So I think she had to go knowing that he was in a bad condition, just in case and just to make sure that she got to spend time with him. So yeah, it was a no-brainer. I knew she was going to go as soon as I saw that Skype call. And I was really sad that my team Loudmouth is getting quite quiet.
Yeah, there was no reason or no way that Jemmye wasn't going to go into the finals this season. It just seemed like she had all the connections. Yes was vouching for her in the second episode's authority, I believe, and then she had the Treehouse Alliance. She had all the connections. So as long as she didn't get last place, I think she would have made it all the way to the finals in this season. So it's really sad to see anybody leave. Totally understand. I don't blame her whatsoever. And yeah, it's just difficult. It's difficult to see anybody leave, but specifically due to a family emergency where anything could happen. And it's just really sad.
Yeah. A lot of moment here. Maybe I was saying, if anyone is on the juice, Brad. Yeah, I have to agree. I can't. Like, dude, you're scarily. I don't know how you're so accurate. Like, you must have practiced for hours in the mirror before coming onto these podcasts with the eyes. I can't even try and do it.
Hey, I'm growing out the beard, so yeah, I'm
Oh my
gonna
God,
be the
please
Brad of
go
this.
for Brad
growing
for
out the beard.
Halloween. Halloween, Brad, please.
He's growing out the beard. He's got the eyes already down, and he's going to the gym. Before we know
Yeah.
it, we'll have our own
Oh
Drew.
my God.
I just need to grow into a 6'1" man, and then have some really fine hairs on top. I gotta do a buzz cut and look like I'm balding. Yeah, and get a big old phoenix tattoo or whatever tattoo he has on his back.
Oh
Go
my
so full
God.
Brad.
Back to the episode. We go to the 70s party. There's obviously the old person joke that Kayla makes about her parents knowing about the 70s or Mark knowing about the 70s. The thing that stood out for me the most here with the party is the fact that Darrell gets really annoyed with Wes in this episode. I think it's the only confessional Darrell had this whole episode, maybe, where he says Wes is using this as an opportunity to politic. How dare he do that? Isn't that just like what happens at these parties? People politic, they try and save themselves or get some other people thrown down to go into the, I guess, arena for elimination.
And also, like, Darrell should be working with Wes because I don't know if he's as insulated as he usually is. But I think that I think Wes just has such like, a stigma with his name and like how he plays the game. So people are always just watching what Wes is doing. Like, what's Wes up to? Like, they just have their eyes on him. He is doing stuff, but like, I think it's kind of like when you're looking for someone to be annoying or being strategic when they should be having fun, you're going to find them doing something that's going to go along with your line of thinking. So I think that he probably just doesn't like playing the game with Wes, and the producers probably led him that question. They probably like egged him on about it. So maybe it's a little PTSD as well. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I didn't want to. But I was just gonna say, I think they needed to transition into the next part of the party because they were showing everybody having a good time, throwing out the hundreds, and I think they needed to transition, and they knew they wanted to have Darrell somewhere. I think it was his first confessional of the episode,
Season?
so they wanted to transition into, okay, we're talking about the authority, the yes stuff, the Cyrus stuff, the MJ wanting Cyrus. Like, I think they just wanted to transition into that, but. To go into your point about Wes and Darrell working together, that was never going to happen. Let's just be real. Let's harken back to the Ruins back in season 18. We don't even have to go back on that old personal stuff. Let's just go into the resume of Darrell being a 4-time challenge champ, getting to the finals, not in just one All-Stars, but in 2 All-Stars, and not just getting almost winning in the first All-Stars, but could have won the second All-Stars as well. So coming in, I think Wes had a hit list of like, I need to go after Jordan. He's a very recent winner. I have to go after Darrell. And then Yes was somewhere here. And then as the game progressed, it went, okay, Yes is number 1, then it's Jordan, and then probably Darrell. So if I can get rid of any of these players, I'm going to be golden heading to further into this game, because those 3 players are going to be having their eye on me. I need to have my eye on them type of thing. So I think that they could have been playing nice. I just feel like Darrell is kind of like in the middle, floating around there for a little bit. But he is going to be a target of Wes's, and I don't think Wes would ever want to work with Darrell. I did see him take some shots at him before All-Stars showed up, and it was like cute little jabs on the Twitter. He's like, the poster came out, and he's like, besides Darrell being on the poster, this looks really good type of thing. So, I mean, yeah, so.
Well, it did work. A lot of this conversation worked to a certain degree that Wes had with the likes of a Jordan and a Brad. They didn't want to say Cyrus's name. They didn't say Cyrus's name. I think at the authority, there's other targets that come into play. MJ wants to go up against Cyrus. Janae, she's there to fight for him to get his way in the authority, even though he's not there. And it's funny because wasn't she upset about Tina wanting certain people in the previous episode? And now MJ, who's got no power, is wanting certain people, and she's going to help him with that. So a little bit hypocritical there. But I mean, obviously, it doesn't apply because everybody is the hero of their own story when they're playing in these seasons. But yeah, I thought there was some interesting conversations happening here. Ultimately, Cyrus and I guess Kendall is going to get thrown in there. Kendall wasn't a big surprise. How surprised were you guys to see Cyrus getting thrown in there?
Not surprised. I figured that was most likely. I thought that he was going to get his way, MJ. I did.
So this is where people point out the sort of hypocrisy or the double talk of certain players, aka Kayla, who in episode 2's authority goes, losers should not be able to choose. We're going to pick whatever we want to pick. Then they're bringing up, oh, this is what Latyrian and I can't remember who was. I can't remember who. Tina. Tina and Latyrian don't want to go up against friends. So that's who they don't want to go up against. And Kayla's like, that shouldn't factor in at all. But come to here, and now it's like, Veronica, what do you want to do? It's all in who you know and how it comes off. So to me, I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like it was all double talk. There was no surprise here. The thing is with Brad, he could have summed it up perfectly at the pre-authority meeting where he was like, hey, I want to throw in Yes. And then he gives these bogus reasons. You could just throw in there like, Yes is a huge threat. He's going to be under the radar, just like an all-star.
Won. Like, that's it.
I don't want to go against him in the finals, and I think MJ can take him out, and I want him to take him out. He's smaller. He's not as strong. I think he could win up against him. Yet Brad doesn't say it very eloquently, and I don't think it mattered because Janae is like the boss here, and is like, who are we playing our games for? Are we playing Wes's game or are we playing our games? Then you have Derek as the parrot in the background going like, yeah, are we playing Wes's game or are we playing our game? And then it's like, no, you're all playing Janae's game at this point. You're playing Janae and MJ's game because you're not doing anything but what they want to do, which is Kendall and Cyrus at this point.
Well, and I think, though, that they didn't realize that actually taking out Yes, if like Yes actually was to leave, it would be better for their games in the end. They don't want to go up against Yes in the end. They don't, like, he's capable of winning. If he gets to the final, he's probably the best person to win the final. And so the fact that they're like, oh, well, let's just take out people that they could consider to be maybe a layup, instead of like going after Yes, who potentially MJ could take out, and you take out someone super strong. So I think that they got more afraid of the fact that like, ooh, if we take out Yes, it's Wes's move, instead of realizing like, oh, actually Yes is actually better for all of us if he goes out. So let's take out Yes. Silly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that would have been the move to make. That would have been the move to make, to go after someone that is going to be threatening when it comes to the finale, someone that is proven to I mean, beat someone like you just said, Drew, earlier, a 4-time winner, someone who's great at finals. He beat them convincingly in season 1. So you don't want that to be the case of that person making the finale. Again, it made sense for everybody, but for some other reason, MJ didn't want to go against them. And I feel like there was this code between the champions maybe of All Stars that they said, we're just not going to come after each other this early on, something that we probably didn't see on the show. But I feel like MJ was loyal to Yes here for a certain amount of, I guess, there's a certain amount of loyalty that it buys you when you win an All-Star season. And maybe they said, we'll go for each other later in the game. The other thing for me that was interesting is that Yes has never been in elimination.
Yeah,
so,
throw him down.
So you want to have him go down there and see what he's going to be about. There's always this talk about, well, if you want to earn the respect, you've got to go down to the sand and prove that you're one of the best, and we haven't seen that with Yes yet.
I want to see what he's capable of, to be honest. We know that he's really good at getting to the end unscathed and winning. We've seen that. Now I want to see what kind of fight he has. Does he have any grit? Is he going to play nice guy and just let the other person win? I want to see what he's like when his spot in the game is actually on the line. It would be really great to be able to understand who he is as a player and how much grit he has. So I definitely wanted to see that happen.
Well, I also think it's the way both men are built between Yes and Cyrus. I think that Yes, Cyrus is in really good shape coming into the season, probably the best shape he's ever been when coming on to do a challenge. But MJ is worried about Yes in that could it be an endurance competition of some sort? Could it be like the tic-tac-toe fireball one where Yes would win that pretty easily? It's sort of strategic and it would be running. And MJ has this big old brace on that he wouldn't be able to do anything with. So I think there is that thing of okay, Cyrus is one of the older competitors in the game. And yes, he's in really good shape, but I still think I could beat him if I had to race against him or do anything physical against him. So I think that's the mentality. And if it's comfortable for MJ, then Jonna was like, MJ's going to get what MJ wants. And that's exactly what happens, kind of thing.
Ben, you sounded just like Jonna right there. So it's scary. Well, I think, looking at this, we go to the elimination. We see that the females, they're going to get a bye here. They don't have to go down and compete, which in return saves both Veronica and Kendall. I found a little bit, hate or love what Kendall did this episode. I did find some enjoyment in Jonna not fully getting her way. And it's not because I'm a Jonna hater. I would love nothing more than to see her go to the end again and prove that she's one of the best to ever play. I would not be against it at all if that had to happen. But it is good to see her have some resistance on her way to the end or running this big alliance. And Kendall staying in the game is not something she planned for. It's not something that she wanted. And that person now may come after her, even though I think Kendall won't. I think Kendall will still try and play nice, even though we see her and Kellyanne at the party talking about the fact that we've got to stop being the nice girls. We've got to start getting our claws out and go for them. I just think that instinctively that's not Kendall. And for her to change, that's just not going to happen. I can see Kellyanne doing that. I think Kellyanne will get scrappy. I just don't see that happening with Kendall. And Kellyanne is the slipper at the moment that I think will, at some point, we're going to see some explosiveness there because she's not a part of this majority alliance. And they're going to want to take shots at her, and she's a beast. So I can't wait for that to happen because hopefully I get some elimination points with her going down there and beating a bunch of these treehouse girls and sending them packing. I would love nothing more than to see that happen going forward. But I digress. We see both Veronica and also Kendall saved in the spot. I was happy that they made the decision to save the females here because we just lost two. We didn't want to lose a third one here, right?
Oh, absolutely. Now, I have a question, though. Do you think that because they knew that they were not going to have those two women compete from earlier on, that they changed the elimination? Because it's not necessarily an elimination I would see two women competing at. Not to say that they wouldn't do it, but I'm just curious if you guys think that they would have had something different if Kendall and Veronica were competing in the elimination.
I don't know. Like Drew, I mean, it's a guess. I would like to believe, here I am, the naive person on the panel. I'd like to believe that there's a purity to the show and that they plan these things in advance and they have the elimination set up before they go there. and it's not changed based on the fact that they've got different people. I mean, at some point, you would think that this elimination was always going to be an elimination that they were going to do this season. So if they do it this elimination, or if they do it 3 or 4 eliminations later on, it doesn't matter. 2 women will have to do it at some point. So therefore, I don't think that they changed it for this one. But Drew, I don't know if you've got a different opinion or a different take on that.
No, I don't think they changed it up. Like if there was a pole in the middle or a ring in the middle of the sand and that was it, I would have said like, yeah, they changed it up, kind of like what they did with Laterian and Kahutta, or last season, right? That was Tyler and Laterian last season. I know Kahutta was mixed up in there, but I don't think
Kahutta even get an elimination. Like I forgot,
no,
he got
he got
to fight.
He got sucked out by Kendall, wasn't it?
Casey.
Oh, Casey at the bottom.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I knew Kahutta was in there somewhere.
Justice for Kahutta. I'm just putting it out there.
But
For sure.
But because this was a little bit more intricate, I do think that this was going to be happening at some point. I just think that maybe they had a different system with how much the sandbags weighed, or what the pulley system would have been. Like maybe there was an assistant. I think that John A was upset that they didn't have the elimination. I still think that Kendall would have won this. I mean, this would have been, I think, a better win for Kendall, because maybe she would have lost some time in throwing the sandbags over the wall, but she could have easily just made a tiny hole, jump through it, and gotten through. I just think that Kendall, I think, would have had the more endurance and the gusto to be able to
she has
see
the
this
heart, though.
elimination
I just
through.
feel like she'd be like just like chipping away at the wall, just like, haphazardly. I don't. I just don't see her.
I feel like
she's
not bad at eliminations. Like, I mean, if you look
yeah.
at All Stars 1, like she does come to play when she's down there and she has to compete. So I feel like there is a different side to her that she can turn on when because she's competitive, right? You don't stay in shape like she's in shape and do all of that workouts and stuff if you're not by nature a competitive person, or you're wanting to achieve at a certain level. So I feel like maybe she's not as vocal as others, and maybe she's not good at a decision making, but I have to agree with Drew. I think it would have come down to a lot of endurance, like in this one. It's not just brute strength. And it was interesting, even with the men, the strategies that were being used, it was completely different, right? We had complete different strategies. And in the beginning, I thought Cyrus was going to come from behind and bloody win this thing because of how slowly MJ was chipping around in a circular motion, and I guess weakening the structure so you can smash through it. Were any of you guys really afraid for MJ here? Because I thought Cyrus was going to come and like do it.
So I was doing a watch party with the hangout room, Zoe, and so we're watching it, and I was like, Cyrus, yes, Cyrus, like screaming because I thought Cyrus was coming through, and then the light breaks, and I was like, MJ,
how this happened?
What? Like, I really thought it was Cyrus. I was like, yes, Cyrus, you get it. Take out MJ. Like, I was so rooting for him. And I was actually, they fooled me in the edit because I blinked and I didn't realize that it was still MJ. But like, I totally thought that Cyrus had beat him. And I was sadly mistaken.
Yeah, I was just I totally believe what Cyrus was saying when he said he beat himself in this elimination, because he did. He was just trying to throw the sandbags as quickly as possible outside of this cage. And it was like, you could see them hitting the side of the trough. He needed to take a second, get a breath, and then get into that rhythm, because he could have easily sunk all those sandbags in if he would have just waited for the right momentum time. But he was trying to throw it when the trough was at the highest peak right next to the cage. So it was just hitting, going down. Then some of them were just hitting the cage and then coming down. It was like, please. And then MJ with the stupidity of trying to just tap around, and it's like, cool, he's giving you an opening, go. And Cyrus was able to come back and start smashing through that wall like he was the Kool-Aid man. But when he finally got the hole open, it was just like, just jump through. Like everybody was yelling for him, just
sure it's big enough.
Just go. And I think he was second guessing himself. I think he was worried. When he heard MJ just tapping on the wall, I think that's where the survival mode kicked in, and he was just like, I just gotta hurry, like I just gotta go. But it was that fight or flight, and he was fighting, but then he started to fly a little bit when he started breaking through that wall, going like, I don't want to try to jump through it and not be able to make it. So he just hesitated just a couple of too long, and he could have just easily jumped through there. And I was really pushing for him. Yes, MJ's on my team, but thinking of Janae's sake, thinking of my team as a whole, and knowing that MJ is like a wounded deer in the headlights, just waiting for the car to run him over at this point. I'm like,
God.
just please, Cyrus, just win. Please,
Take
just
him out.
do it. Yeah.
Wow. It was amazing to watch. I mean, in hindsight, I understood why MJ won. And in my mind, I was thinking like, that is the better strategy to weaken the structure around in a circular motion and then hit the center. But the way that, Cyrus came in like a wrecking ball, I just thought he was going to, put all caution to the wind and just go and smash this thing and get through it. And maybe MJ was trying to be too cute with it, trying to be smart and weaken the structure here. But let's get into our draft picks here for the season. And we've got a few changes here to make, and we'll also talk through what's potentially going to happen moving forward here with Chantel's team. But Chantel, you do end up losing in this team here for this week. Tina, she's out. You've got Jimmy that ends up leaving as well, and Cyrus. So I thought I had a bad week last week, but you're absolutely decimated, and you've got 4 players left here. But there's going to be some interesting things happening, I believe, next week. We see that we may have a replacement or 2 coming into the game. And what will happen is similar to those who've been with us for quite a long time. In season 37, I had Nam. Nam was injured. He was pulled from the game, and Ed came in, and then Ed became a very lucrative pick for me in that season that ended up staying quite long. I really enjoyed shouting for Ed that season, but something similar will now happen for Chantel this season. So whoever's going to come in, she's going to get a replacement for the players that she lost, because she didn't lose them via elimination. So I think it's only fair that we do that moving forward. Is that the understanding that both of you guys have got you in agreement?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is, I think, the most fair thing to do. I mean, we're going to lose a woman anyways because of the elimination, but losing Jemmy on top of that because of family emergency, I think it's only fair that whoever comes in is the one replacing Jemmy's spot. So that
I was thinking it was a replacing of Tina's spot because of like the medically DQ'd. But I guess no matter what, one person would have gone home. And so, yeah, it's one of the 2 for sure. But
yeah. Christian here from the live, normally in our Survivor live streams, is asking, not a challenge question, just curious, when is Survivor finale recap? Is it on Wednesday after the finale or next after? It will be after the finale, probably on the weekend, I'd say Friday, but just keep an eye on the channel. I will post it up there. I will also, for those that are interested in continuing to hear all of our thoughts, we'll do an extra bonus episode at some stage with both Chantel and Drew, where the 3 of us, I have spoken to Chantel and Drew on, I guess, separate occasions about this season. They've both been on a recap this season for Survivor 42, but we're going to have the crew together to talk about Survivor 42 and our final thoughts. So there will be a bonus episode of Survivor recaps this week as well, or within the next week or so. We'll talk about it afterwards. We just need to make sure our calendars line up for that. So I'm excited about that. But coming back to the challenge, Charlotte mentions here that looking after next week's preview, MJ might be getting hit by a car. Hashtag headlight.
Hit by that car.
By that car. Yeah, not a car.
Drew's car analogy.
Yeah.
Like the deer being hit.
All right. Let's get into the meat and potatoes here. The reason everybody's coming here is to see who is leading the fantasy draft. And I don't know if it's going to be much of a secret, but we'll go over to Drew to talk us through some of these points, and I'll see if I can make this bigger, if it allows me.
Yeah, so as we can see, last week, it was kind of close, where it was me in first place at 83 points. Chantel came in second place with 75 points after episode 2, and then 65 points for Chris. Coming into this week, overall, we have Chris jumping up a total of 18 points, getting to 83 points. You have a sixth sense of picking players that do not get any confessional time.
Yeah, I don't know how I do it.
It's wild. Darrell got three confessionals. You had Jordan, who only got 2 confessionals despite winning into the Authority, and Nia only got 1, and that was because she was going to the 70s party. Like, the most disappointing thing about this season is Nia and how little screen time she is getting on this season.
Crazy.
It's like she's not, like, Chantel made a joke that Ronnie wasn't there. I don't even think Nia is really there. She's part of the crew at this point. Like, it's just crazy to think that she's not getting any screen time. Chantel, you went up a total of almost 40 points, around 39 points.
That's a lot considering what the team decimation.
Yeah, despite losing 3 players, you had a total of 39 points. Got this episode with your highest player being Veronica now. Your highest player is still Cyrus, who got like 12 confessionals this episode. Absolutely insane. Brad, throwing this out there, I was worried that this was going to be, I was like halfway through this episode, we had everybody have a confessional except one person, and that was Brad. And I was like, are we going to get the first episode of the season where everybody gets a confessional? It wasn't until 40 minutes and 30 seconds into the 46-minute episode that Brad got his first confessional, despite winning into the authority, getting first place easily. He got 2 confessionals on the episode, and they both came during the elimination, talking about Cyrus needing to just jump through the window. Crazy. So you are sitting at second place with 114 points, 31 points over Chris. And then my team, who has all 8 players still left. I have 3 players that are the 3 highest scoring players, which is Sylvia, Wes, and John A, all having 22 points each. I jump up 53 points this episode, going from 83 to 136 points. I do want to point out real quick, just a fun fact for everybody. Kendall last season got a total of 7 points, 9 confessionals, and then got -2 for the DQ. She made it to episode 5, all the way to episode 5. This episode, in confessionals alone, Kendall got 9 points, already surpassing in one episode just from confessionals that she got last season, all of last season. And we're only on episode 3. So just throwing that out there. I thought that was a funny little
I feel like we've spoken more about Kendall in this episode, in this recap, than we've ever spoken in any of our podcasts previously as well. Like a good 30 minutes, maybe even 40 minutes of this podcast has been about Kendall and her moves or lack of moves in this specific episode. But yeah, I mean, Drew, you're absolutely smashing it at the moment. It's looking really good. You've got all players still in the game. You're leading at 136. I do believe there is a chance for us to come back, though. There's a few heavy hitters that are still left in both of our teams. I feel good about the fact that I've still got my top 5, even though I don't think both Jordan and Yes, and I don't think there's any world where Jordan, Yes, and Darrell all make it to the final. But do I think one of those 3 will make it to the final? Yes, I think there's a chance. I think I still got a shot there, and hopefully some daily wins in those heavy hitter teams, I guess, players. Kellyanne's still looking good. Maya is she's the shock of the season. Like Baby Ice, I kind of feel like you set me up, mate. You had booby trapped me with the Naya pick here, because she's not done anything for me so far. She's more there to flirt and have a good time, apparently. In this episode is what she said when she went to the party. Chantal, how are you feeling about your team? I know it's decimated at this point.
Wait, who do I have left? I can't even remember right now.
So you've got left in your team Nehemiah, Brad, Veronica, and Kendall. And I know that you don't have a lot of love for Kendall after this episode, but now you've got to be all team Kendall. Yeah, she's going to give you points. And then I guess, how do you feel about the team that you do have? And if you could choose a blonde lady climbing out of a car to come and join your team, who would be the blonde lady you'd want in your team to add to your existing blonde lady?
Be Beth, I guess, and maybe I'll get some fight points with Beth and Veronica. We'll see what happens there. I put an over or under on my channel about like how many episodes do we think that Beth will last in this season, and we said we placed it at 2 episodes. So we're gonna put up a poll that's like, do you think that she will last more than 2 episodes or less than 2 episodes? I don't have like longevity for Beth. I think that she's going to be an easy target for a lot of people to just turn on. And she doesn't back down. And so I think she'll get some fight points, but I don't think she's going to last very long.
Are we missing seeing Tina and Beth in the same season?
Yes.
That would have been amazing to see both of them. But yeah.
We thought that was going to happen. I thought that was going to happen. I took the loudmouth team for a reason,
It was supposed to happen. I heard that Beth met up with Tina in the airport in Panama. Oh, she made a big commotion, and that's when she was talking to production, and production was like, we'll keep you as an alternate if you want to stay and possibly be on the season. So she agreed to be an alternate. So I do think that this is going to be Beth. Regardless
Isn't
of
that
who,
ironic though that she like doesn't want to be on the same season with Tina? Tina gets taken out by an injury, and she actually replaces Tina, basically.
That is funny.
Wow.
Maybe it's the best reason to. That's the best coincidence, I guess. Or maybe Beth put out a hit via Kellyanne. But I just think no matter who it was going to be, they were going to come in with a target on their back because of coming in late into the game. I think if it could have been Jody, that could have been a really good person to bring in who is strong, who has some strong ties from the previous season that Brad would have stuck up for, Derek would have stuck up for her, Darrell. But for it to be Beth, possibly, I just think no matter what, it was going to be a hard sell to anybody to want to keep her. I think it's just like a pawn to be like, at least it lets every other woman be like, we got an extra week at least kind of thing. If we throw her in or if she gets last place, like hallelujah kind of thing. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. I don't think much is going to change. Like I said, with the Treehouse Alliance shrinking from 7 to 5, I think those 5 are going to just latch onto each other. And they're like, okay, we got to look out for each other and we'll just take out whoever isn't right here. Out. And I think Ronnie comes in a higher position a little bit now that she's within the 5, not the 7. I think she could have been the 7th. Now she's the 5th. So that's a little bit tighter and she gets a little bit more wiggle room now that they don't have to cannibalize each other sooner rather than later kind of thing.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things here as well with that alliance of 5, I don't think Wes feels like he can work with them or persuade them to go in a certain direction. I think they're all very strong-headed. They're all good strategists themselves. But, you know, the likes of a Kellyanne and a Kendall could be more appealing for someone like Wes to work with, potentially. We don't know what the relationships there between them are. I guess, you know, Kendall's at least verbalizing to us as an audience that she's trying to help Wes could be a good sign. You know, we know that Kellyanne has got a past history with Wes. They seem to be in okay terms. So who knows? That could be another reason where, Chantal, me and you may still have 2 players here on the board that could go and work with someone like a Wes to go deeper. Can you believe we're going to have to rely on Wes, the ginger man, to get our females into another alliance to get to the end? Your player. But I mean, I don't know how much credit you can take for it when we both would have, it came down to a luck of the draw, who was going to pick first, and you were picking first. We all would have wanted Wes in our team. But we do have in the chat here, Baby I saying, hey, Naya's letting me down as well. And then Rodrigo saying Naya will have her time to shine. And also Rodrigo is the biggest Kendall fan here, by the looks of it in the live stream, saying that he will stay a Kendall fan until the end. And I tell you what, Rodrigo, if she wins this season, Chantal would be the biggest Kendall fan as well. She will turn that frown upside down in a hot second if that happens.
Love you, Kendall. I mean, I love Kendall as a person, but like, I think she's a great person. Yeah. I like her. You know, I love her relationship with Kellyanne. I love the fact that they would love to use the money to build a yoga studio. I love all those things. I just don't like wishy-washy. I want people to play with strategy, play with purpose, play with intention. Otherwise, it's not fun for me. So
can I point something out that was funny for me? You know how they talk about what they want to do with the money when they win it, and they're giving more and more people the opportunity to say it. Episode 1 and 2 is one of the things we left on the cutting floor. I didn't bring it up, but Nehemiah is saying that he wants to teach people about financial freedom. I'm like, what do you know about financial freedom if you've won money from a TV show? You know, you didn't generate that money somehow, and suddenly you can teach people about financial freedom. So I just found that really funny when he mentioned that in episode 1. I love Nehemiah, but I feel like sometimes it's like he doesn't know the show he's on. Is he like on Miss America or Mr. America, you know, Save the World?
Well, he
type
said
of
that
thing?
Season 1 as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Season 1 was a little bit different. Season 1, he said he wanted to help, but I guess he didn't go into detail. And I really enjoyed what he said. Season 1, he said, I want to work with underprivileged kids that come from rough neighborhoods and give them a better future. But I don't think he went into the specifics.
I think he did say something though about teaching them about wealth consciousness or something like that.
Maybe,
so I mean, I don't know if like he's probably teaching them about investing or like, you know, what if you do have extra money, like what to do with it.
Is he friends with Swaggy C?
Hey man, Swaggy's making money.
Swaggy's making money.
He is.
Swaggy's rich. Like I can't hate on Swaggy. Like
no, Swaggy can teach about financial freedom. Like
whatever.
What has Nehemiah done to prove that he can teach? Like, I mean, maybe he does do stuff outside of the show. I don't know. I don't want to shade too much, but Swaggy can teach that because I mean, like you said, he's buying Bailey a new car every couple of months.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he actually does, but like there's a lot. I'm sure he's done a lot of training. I don't think that he would claim that if he didn't actually helped.
Yeah.
No.
And he's good
Yeah.
friends with Wes, right? And I mean, that's the other thing. Him and Wes not being able to talk about the fact that they're friends or not be too open about it. It's one of those undercover alliances. I think people know that they're close in any case, even if they're not talking on the show. But I mean, Wes, from my understanding, is good friends with people like Swaggy C as well. Like, it just seems like there's some of these business-minded people outside that are doing a lot of other things that just naturally gravitate towards each other. So I'm sure there's some things that they're doing behind the scenes together and making some money. I just wanted to call it out, because I found it was funny. It sounded like something that production told them, like, tell us this, or you have to fall into this category of, like, everybody now is a story. But I guess the really good thing is we don't have to hear someone who's already won $500,000 tell us that they're doing it for their mother and they need to bring money home, that type of scenario, which is overplayed.
Josh and Casey.
Yeah, and I hope Nehemiah does put the money to good use if he does win.
He will.
Like,
I think he will.
Yeah, definitely. I did want to throw out there that talking about the Wes and Kellyanne, their relationship coming into the game, I did read an interview with Wes. I'm not just reading Wes interviews. He's just doing a lot of talking.
Yes.
So, but he talks
He's got
about
his
how,
notifications on and everything. On
He like
this one.
Google alerts whenever Wes.
Yeah.
Brad's gonna get jealous, mate. Brad's
just
gonna get very
Control
jealous.
F and then hit Wes. But there was somebody, I think it was the Rolling Stones interview, that talked about, like, okay, well, you're going on to a show with your ex. Like, is that weird? Is that awkward in any way? And he said that it is awkward, but it's nice because you know that you have that already kind of built-in relationship, that friend, that familiarity coming onto the show. So I do think that the edit is really pushing the Kellyanne and Kendall story, because I think that they are going to be close. They're going to be spending 95% of their time with each other. But I do think that there is that relationship with Wes, that Kellyanne knows that she can lean on him, that, hey, if I need somebody, that Wes will be that person. And we see Wes getting Brad, collecting Mark. I mean, Mark is trying to sell yes to MJ at the party. So, I mean, Wes will just collect all these numbers, try to get rid of his enemies. And once he gets rid of an enemy, that's basically a collected friend, because somebody that's not coming against you is less likely to come after you, kind of thing. So I do think that there is that work in there. I just feel like if MJ could get knocked out, John A would be in a better position and kind of open up things, because I feel like they're really close with each other. And the same thing with Kellyanne and Kendall. Kendall is like, we dislike you, and the longer Kendall stays in the game, Kellyanne just gets lumped into that as well, because we've seen Kellyanne on her past seasons, like The Island, who loves Evelyn. Everybody is against Evelyn, and so now it's Evelyn and Kellyanne getting teamed up on, and then at the end, spoiler alert for The Island, Kellyanne gets her key taken at the end, but Evelyn gets to go and sail off to get the win, while Kellyanne is staying on the beach because her key got taken at the very last minute, kind of thing. So it's like, you don't want to see that happen again. And it's like, if Kendall kind of just like gets, I don't think there's any saving Kendall at this point. So just slice off Kendall, let Kellyanne play her own game, kind of just get integrated with Wes, Nehemiah, Brad, and Mark kind of game. And let's see what can happen. And let's see where this goes. It's not saying it's not going to be an uphill battle. It's just, I think it could be a little bit better and shrink the target on her when she's not sitting there with Kendall 95% of the time and then getting lumped into everything that's being said about Kendall is now being said about Kellyanne. I think it's just going to be really tough for both of them to shrink the targets on their backs between John A and Kellyanne,
with Kendall being involved in the alliance.
Yeah, it's just it's just like, no. That's just what I thought of and wanted to say before we head out.
Yeah. Chantel, any final thoughts from your end as we get to the close here? It doesn't look like it. Well, I think we did really, we got an hour and a half's talking points out of a 45-minute show. So we did well, I feel like, Let's go over to Drew to tell us what he's going to be doing next on his channel. I'm assuming there's a lot of challenge content over the next week. What else do you have going on at the moment? Do you have time to push anything else into your very busy calendar? I think you're doing Endurance again. There's another season that you're watching at the moment.
Yes, I am. I'm watching Endurance season 4, starting that up. Every Sunday is Endurance season 4. Then on Mondays, I'm going to have clips. I have a very funny one from the challenge Champs versus Stars season 1. So that's going to be coming out very soon on Monday. Tuesday is going to be a podcast episode where I'm going to be going into everything that we know for the Challenge 38 and everything that we're everything that we know and going through everything. Wednesday is going to be the review and recast for Challenge All-Stars 3, of course, and then the Tiny Table Talk on Thursdays for Challenge All-Stars 3, of course. Friday is going to be a new video, a challenge video that's just going to be on something random about the challenge. This week, I've been working heavily and very hard on the scared gameplay and how to spot someone playing a scared game on the challenge. So that's going to be a nice, fun, long video. That's going to be like 40 minutes of me just calling out players. And then we have on Saturday, the power rankings of what's going to be happening on the Challenge All-Stars 3. Where are the player rankings after every single episode of the Challenge All-Stars 3? So tomorrow, Saturday, is going to be episode 3. Where does everybody stand after episode 3, after everything that's going on, and where everybody stands going into episode 4. And then Sunday, we restart the cycle all over again, starting with Endurance Season 4, which I want to throw this out there. Somebody from Endurance Season 4 hit me up on Instagram and called me out about what I said about them in the first episode, because I thought they were going to lose.
In Survivor?
No, I'm not to his season yet. I think that's season 5. I'm on season 4. I didn't know
they had that many.
But yeah. No, they have 6.
I don't feel like Jonathan is the kind of person that would like call people out or even care about the online opinions. Like, I feel like he just moves on. Oh, really?
I don't know. We'll see what happens when the season's over. No, I mean, the season's not over yet. So I don't think they're allowed to start commenting yet. But I think that he has a big enough ego that he wants to maybe have people have a certain opinion about him. So
yeah. We're gonna have to have a chat offline about this, because obviously some of it's going to be interesting when we do our full retrospective of the season. There's a lot of stuff coming out now that Omara's left the game this week. Spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't watched this week yet, but apparently there's a lot we haven't seen on the actual show that's coming out at the moment, which is interesting, and we'll make for some interesting discussions, I think, when we talk about this later on. But for now, Chantel, let us know what is happening on Reality Realness with 3 S's.
Well, don't worry. I'm not doing nearly as many things as Drew is doing. But I guess he's trying to take
feel
the cake
too lazy.
here.
I don't have to feel like the lazy one in the group.
So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I will be doing watch parties with Sarah from Nerdtainment at the Sarah Atwood on Twitch, watching Big Brother Australia. It's been a fun season so far. I've been definitely enjoying it. Then on Wednesday, I'll be going to a finale party for Survivor. So I won't be doing any lives necessarily. I might do an earlier recap for All Stars, not sure. And I also was asked to do like a recap with Yes and another person, Josh. And so I'm not sure if their schedules are going to work out, because he didn't realize when he booked the interview that it was on the same day as the Survivor finale. So he was like, I'm hosting a party too. So we'll see if that ends up happening. And obviously we'll post that a lot if I end up doing that recap and interview. And then on Thursdays, we'll do definitely the recap for Survivor if I haven't, figured out how to do it beforehand. And then Friday back with you guys. So not lots. Oh, actually, I lied. One more thing. In the afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, I will be talking with Taryn. I'm not sure who else will be guest hosting about the finale of The Circle. So doing a little circle wrap up on Thursday at 4 p.m.
I've got a lot of catching up to do when it comes to watching TV. My last couple of weeks have been absolutely crazy at work, but hopefully that will lead into some great opportunities for us down the line, which we can't talk about on here as well. But just stay tuned, guys. Just stay tuned is all I'm going to say to our channels. And I guess for my channel, I am the lazy one after hearing all of that, because I don't have nearly as much going on as both of you guys have got going on. We've got the recap coming up next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Challenge All-Stars 3, episode 4, which I'm going to look forward. I mean, these weeks, they seem so long in between when we don't get to talk about the challenge. And then I'll also have in this week, I'm doing a little bit of short form videos. I had a power rankings, top 5 players, top 2 females, top 2 men, and also 1 wildcard pick for last week. I made some outrageous calls, which seems to be completely off. Based on what we saw happening in episode 3, I thought that both Yes and Jordan would work a lot closer together against Wes, and that they would need to do that. I think that would have been the smart thing to do, but it didn't go in that direction. So there might be a bit of a shakeup in my power rankings for this week. So keep an eye on that. It should drop on Tuesday or Wednesday, probably most likely Monday or Tuesday, actually, around there. And I'll promise you guys I'll get like a solid date moving forward where you can expect it on a Monday or Tuesday. I've just got to try and figure it out with my calendar, but it will definitely drop. And I'm excited to do the top 5 and then to go and have a look at Drew's to see how different we're seeing the table unfold at this point. So if you want 2 different opinions, I'm sure it'll be different from each other. And then also we've got Survivor, the finale that's going to happen. So we'll have a recap on the channel with myself and Jake afterwards. It should probably be on Friday next week or maybe Thursday like we did it this week. It'll be one of those 2 evenings. And we should have, hopefully for this next one, Russell Muscle TV back on, who's also got a YouTube channel to recap that one with us in the finale. And then after that, myself, Chantal, and Drew will come together and we'll do a retrospective of the whole season as well, which I'm really looking forward to because I think it's been a great season overall. So I really want to hear the opinions of both of you two who I respect as well when it comes to talking about reality TV. But for now, guys, everyone in the live, thank you so much for taking part of the conversation. It means the world to us, especially when you guys ask questions throughout. Please consider subscribing to all 3 of our channels to show your support. It means the world to us. It shows that you guys love what we're putting out there. Chantal on Reality Realness with 3 S's. Drew on the Angel Cake Entertainment channel. And then obviously myself on the Nullified Take on YouTube. Thank you so much, guys, and catch you next week. Bye.